Welcome to the Stream of David on OMTimes Radio with best-selling author, channel, and creator of the Tai spiritual practice, David Strickel, shares the eternal wisdom of the consciousness called the Stream. The Stream of David show is fun and informative and seeks to not only answer all your spiritual and life questions, but to also provide proven tools to navigate life's obstacles and find a path to joy, clarity, and abundance by hearing the stream's no-nonsense, direct approach to spirituality. Prepare to have your mind blown and receive clarity on your life and the universe like you perhaps never have before. And now, your host, David Strickel.
Welcome to the Stream of David show. I am here today with my good friend, business partner, and Tai master, Stacie, I'm going to mess up your name, Naglestad.
You got it.
Did I get it right? My good friend whose name I can't pronounce.
That's okay.
Whose
it's my new name,
I can't pronounce.
So,
yeah. Stacie Prof. Clene Naglestad. We have to drop the Clene though, right?
Yeah, that's done.
You're not going to hyphenate husbands.
No, oh God, no.
Oh, that would be a new trend. That'd be great. Every time you get married and change your name, you have to hyphenate the husband's name. It sounds like a little 18th century there, doesn't it?
It does indeed.
So you are officially Stacie Naglestad.
Correct.
And you have a cool story. We're going to talk about nutrition. We're going to talk about the latest and greatest from Tai Mastery. If you are new to the show, I do channel the stream. We very often refer to the stream as the Stream of David. And, of course, the show and the podcast are virtually one and the same. But I'm going to tell you that if you like listening to the live show, that's great. Listen to the live show. Listen on OMTimes, absolutely. But go and subscribe to the podcast also, because I am creating some unique podcast content. And it's really interesting podcast content. The very first episode on the podcast that's going to be separate from the radio show is going to be about adrenochrome. So just imagine that topic is not really ready for live airwaves. So it's going to be an interesting, we've already recorded it. That will be posted this week as a podcast, just on the Stream of David podcast. So if you like to go really deep into deep thought and the stream's teachings around some really difficult topics, the podcast will be more the place for that. And the OMTimes show is going to remain the uplifting, life empowerment, spiritual awakening experience that it is. So there is going to be some unique content coming out on the podcast. So make sure you do both. Listen here on OMTimes and then subscribe to the Stream of David podcast as well. There's going to be a little different experience in there offered. But Stacie is here. Stacie is a co-founder, if you will, of the Tai Boot Camp, which is the boot camp program that I teach based on the teachings of the stream, the Tai mindset practice, spiritual practice. It's all interchangeable, whatever you want to call it. And then for Tai boot camp graduates that want to continue to take their practice to the highest level, we have a Tai Mastery program. And Stacie is a Tai master. And we always joke that the first rule of Tai is that there's no rules. And the first secret of Tai Mastery is that we're never going to master it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've been practicing Tai in my own life before I even called it Tai. That's a name that we came up with, the stream and I. And in the book, it's a chapter in the book, The Stream, Eternal Wisdom for a Better Life. And it was introduced as a chapter in the book. And then I started an online course after that. And that course morphed into Tai Boot Camp, which is what it is today. And we have Tai practitioners now all over the world. You'll hear lots about that in my ads for this show. So Stacie is a Tai master, and Stacie is also an expert in my life on nutrition and very knowledgeable. I don't know if you have a specific title. I don't really worry that much about titles and stuff, but you're very knowledgeable about that. So let's start the conversation in this episode about how food impacts your vibration and what you would consider high vibrational foods versus not so high vibrational foods, and how it can actually impact your awakening.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. So a little backstory on me. I grew up in Santa Barbara, California, which is in Southern California, right on the beach. I spent a lot of time on the beach. So bikini consciousness was high in my awareness. We were always wanting to look our best in our 8 different bikinis that we had each season. I also have been an athlete my entire life. So anywhere from beach volleyball to Tung Sudo black belt to now I do a bunch of CrossFit and long range backpacking. So 50, 75 miles at a time. So it's important for me to keep my body in tip-top shape. And being that I am of, I guess we could say advanced age. I'm 55.
The over 50 club here, yes.
I'm over 50, yeah. But I still
The over 50 club that acts like we're still teenagers club.
Oh, totally. I don't think I've grown up past 25, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to grow up any more than this. I want to stay like this for the rest of my life, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that, the keys to staying youthful, attitude, top of the line, hydration, making sure you get enough liquids, enough hydration, enough water for your system to keep your body optimally lubricated and functioning. And thirdly, exercise, sleep, and food. And food is, in my opinion, so individualized. Each person's bodies have different specific DNA imprint, what foods they really do best on, what foods they should avoid. And in my practice, I've just really focused on having awareness of what makes me feel good when I eat it. And again, that's anything from, one morning I'll have a donut and then I'll realize, oh, wow, I probably should have eaten that today. But then 2 days later, I can have a donut and be, oh, it's okay. So it just depends on where your body's at.
Yeah, so do you find that it's the way your attitude toward the donut in general? Because I know when I eat junk food, if I let guilt set in about it, I find myself feeling worse after the fact. And of course, there's some junk food that I just feel terrible when I eat it altogether and just avoid it.
Yeah. And I think that's really true. I mean, there are some, and it's not that you're going to eat donuts every morning, because I did that when I was a legal secretary, and boy, did I get a big butt. Because, you have a donut and coffee every morning.
You just put all kind of a very specific image in my mind right there.
They used to call that the secretarial spread back in the day. So.
Oh, my.
But that was one of the things that, I came to realize is I can't consume, my physical body can't consume that kind of sugar on a daily basis. So for me, it was the awareness of getting out of the mental, emotional link to food to the clarity of, hey, this makes me feel better or this makes me feel worse. And yes, attitude definitely matters when you're going in on it. If you've been on a really, clean diet, you're eating whole foods and clean proteins. And then you should have a day when you want to have a donut or, a Frappuccino from Starbucks. God, those things are full of sugar. Delicious as it all is, but it is the, how do you feel afterwards and how do you feel going in? If, like you were saying, the guilt monster comes in and starts beating you before you even order your Frappuccino, then you're in trouble. Because that's just
sugar is so addictive. Sugar's like crack. It's so addictive
totally.
Because you have some of it and all you want is more once you get into it. And then it's hard to get off of it for me. But once I get my mindset in alignment, I can actually get off sugar altogether. And my key is that I have to also give up the fake sweeteners.
Yes.
I use those maybe to wean myself off a little bit, but I have to wean down off of that completely and get off the need for sugar altogether. And then once I'm off, I'm home free until I fall off the wagon. So using the Taya tools to keep my vibe high, I'm not accidentally falling off the wagon because I'm, using sugar to relieve stress.
Yes.
I use the tools that I have to relieve stress because I know when I eat sugar and I eat grain, I don't feel good. So, it feels good when I'm eating it. But then the rest of the time after that, I've got little aches and pains and joint pains. My body tells me this is not the right thing for you.
Yeah, and it's that emotional component that I love what the chiropractor has done for me with that also. It really gets you to focus on where your spiral is. Where are you on your spiral? Are you up your spiral? If you're down your spiral and you're reaching for that donut, it's going to be a down the spiral experience because that's already the vibe you're in. But if you're up your spiral and you're like, oh, I'll give it a whirl and have a donut, haven't had one in a while, and it hits you okay and you're feeling good, it usually is not something that affects me greatly. But again, I don't have donuts every day.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good
I have
point.
one.
You know, if you partake in anything in high vibration, you really can partake in anything in high vibration. But a lot of people are asking about quote unquote plant medicine these days, and whether they mean marijuana or CBD or ayahuasca, peyote,
Yeah.
any of these things. Should I, shouldn't I? Because the stream is always getting that. It's so funny because the stream continually says there's no rules, there's no judgment, there's no rules, there's no judgment, and then everybody comes to the stream wanting the rules and their opinion on things. But their opinion
Yes.
is interesting. It's never one of judgment. It is just one of, if you are partaking for the experience of in high vibration, you really aren't going to get it wrong, quote unquote. But if you're using something to establish what you think is a source connection from down your spiral, there's never going to be enough of it. And that's where addictions and things like that come from, or abuse at least, and then addictions come from. And
Right.
that's the same for food.
Yes.
I
It's
definitely
the same
stress
for food.
eat. I stress eat. I will stress drink, not to excess, but I'll think, oh, I'm a little stressed. I'm going to go have a cocktail at 5 o'clock.
Yeah,
And then I
exactly.
stop myself and realize, you know what? You need to go have a damn meditation at 5 o'clock and then decide if you want a cocktail or not.
Here's
Because
the
starting
thing
the
that I've
cocktail
done.
at 5 o'clock is not a good
Yeah.
thing if you're not already up your spiral. Yeah.
One of those things that I've recognized, like you were saying, just when you're not up your spiral, you're in a down frame mind, and then you're like, oh yeah, stress equals cocktail. I like to frame it in the way of like, okay, I'm not a dog, so I'm not going to reward myself with a treat if I'm having a emotional crisis or an emotional down the spiral day. It's like that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work for me in my mind. So I remind myself, you're not a dog. Don't give yourself a treat.
That's
if you're gonna-
that's really good.
Yeah, if you want to do a treat, then go for a walk, like you were saying. Go for a meditation. Get some exercise. Get outside. Have a big glass of water and see what you feel like afterwards. But don't be a dog.
Yeah. Well, that's, it's funny because I've gotten out of the vibe of quote unquote treating myself with food and things like that, definitely. But still, I will be a little stressed and think, okay, I can't wait till 5 o'clock rolls around. I'm going to go mix myself a little drink and sit outside. And I realize that if I'm doing that from down the spiral, that I need to get up the spiral first and do a quick clear or something to move up. And I've gotten myself, with my Taya practice, I can move up in vibration pretty quick. I don't stay down in low vibe very long at all. When polarity pulls me down, I've got the tools to get out, which is great. But still, I will find myself, stressed and thinking that I want to eat something, and I have to retrain my brain about that. And we do default back into old bad habits if we're not diligent with
Yes.
working on our vibration all the time. And we all have this flow that polarity presents to us as physical beings. We all have a flow of, we go through these high periods where we function very high and we're just naturally more aware of what we have going on. And then we have this downward flow, and we, in Taya, we know what that's for, and we use it to our advantage, really. But
Yeah.
you have to be more diligent during that downward flow because you can react differently to anything.
Yes. And that downward flow perpetuates more downward flow. I think that's, for me, a huge key. Because if I'm
Yeah, it
aware
all
of the fact,
compounds, right?
it all compounds, and you bring that same energy towards yourself. So it doesn't matter really what you do. If you're down the spiral, you're still going to have that down the spiral vibe, lower vibe coming towards you. So, at least lift it up a bit before you make your movement forward.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is, too, is those of us that have, close friendships or relationships, or especially if we live with someone, and you learn the Taya practice, then you start seeing other people's down the spiral. We call it DTS behavior.
Yeah.
And you want to help them, but you really can't, because they have to figure it out for themselves and go through their little cycle and, decide whether they want to learn these tools or not. But if I lived with somebody like me, I would want to learn the tools because I'd be so annoyed because I move out of it so quickly now.
Yes.
Anytime something gets me down, and I think I talked this weekend about a few little things that popped up over the week last week, and I just didn't allow any of it to take me down, and I ended up having a very high vibrational up the spiral week and weekend, and moved into Monday, feeling fantastic. Mm-hmm. And it would have been very easy for a couple of things that happened last week to be, things that I dwell on and really took me down a negative spiral, and I just haven't allowed that to be. It just is what it is. And
Yeah,
it's a great way to get through life, not, going down and staying in lower vibration and then letting triggers come in. We have to detune those triggers. That's a big turning point for people when they start detuning the triggers in their lives.
Oh, yeah. And food can be a huge trigger, because that can be the scenario that you had as a kid when you'd fall off your bike. Mom would give you a cookie. Oh, here, you're hurt, have a cookie. Or you have a squabble with your sibling and mom pulls you aside and gives you, a piece of candy. And if you're not detuning the trigger stimuli that you have from external sources, then you're just going to go right back into those old patterns. And those don't benefit us at all.
Yeah, it's kind of like all of that low vibrational stuff continues to exist down there waiting for us. When we go down in vibration, it kind of grabs us and pulls us on down. Yeah. And in Taya, we detune that stuff. We systematically detune it, and it just gets better and better and better and easier to move out of being DTS. Yep. And, it takes time and effort to do that. But when you do, your life really transforms. And then food suddenly isn't something that you need to rush to soothe the disconnection. I will say, though, that during COVID, my attitude toward food has changed to one of recreation.
Yeah.
And I'm not eating out of stress, but definitely I love to cook. I'm a really good cook. I'm getting better at being a baker, which is probably not a good thing. I've discovered some recipes that I can make, and they turn out really well in baking. I'm not real precise in cooking, so baking hasn't always been my forte, but I've gotten really good at baking during lockdown, and it tastes great, and I'm not using it to soothe the disconnection from source, as we say, but still I'm cooking and eating more in a recreational mode because there's not a whole lot else to do. And when you're right, get out and hike or do something. But and I can't wait for the fall here, because right now, it's 120 degrees during the day and 101 at night. It stays over 100 degrees all the time right now. So the last thing you want to do is get outside and do anything. It's kind of like the dead of winter in Palm Springs is the dead of summer, right?
It's so
but still, I've got to find things to do. And of course, I do have a book that I'm writing and lots of other stuff for business that I can do. But I need to find some recreation other than cooking and eating, for sure.
And food's very social, and we haven't been able to be social. So you're going to be social with the folks in your house, right? You're going to create your kind of happy hour time with them, whether it's with a cocktail or a nice cake that you made.
Yeah. It's funny. We did socialize a little bit this weekend. We went to brunch with some friends. We went over to a friend's house for some pool time Friday night, and then we had friends over for pool time here yesterday. So we did a little bit of very light social, like 6 people, and we're finding out that everyone that we know had tested positive for COVID-19. They got it. They weathered it within a few days, and it went away, but they kept it secret because it's such a taboo thing these days. People treat it like you've got the plague, and they're all fine. By the way, they're all fine. Michael and I, we had something back in February. It may or may not have been that. We didn't know to get tested for COVID at that point. He tested negative for antibodies lately, very recently. But everybody, it seems like it is very common that people get it, but most people are healthy and get it, and it just, has a few little flu-like symptoms, and it's gone. And I understand that other people have a much worse experience, but it's interesting now hearing how many people did get it. And I know it's still spreading, and I know the numbers are still rising in some places and things like that, and kind of got through it rather quickly and with great ease, and now they're fine. So that's something I really want to put out there, that these people are taking care of themselves in the first place. They're healthy people, and I think that's why they had a little better experience than some do with it. But one of ours is a friend that he's 71 years old. And this guy looks incredible. There's a little bit of that here in Palm Springs. It's kind of a retirement-oriented place, and you see these people that are just in great shape, north of 70, which is very inspiring to me, because in 20 years I'll be there. Yeah. And we see, you see vast differences of people in their 70s. We're missing our commercial break. We're having so much fun talking here, so we're going to take our commercial break. We'll continue this conversation when we return.
conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
As I'm sure you know, it is time to celebrate self-discovery and personal growth. But you know, your efforts have to be consistent in order to stay balanced and to overcome depression and fears. So, what new books are available? How do you stay centered? Elizabeth Joyce and her guests will help you find out. That's Elizabeth Joyce on Let's Find Out, Mondays at 6 p.m. on OMTimes Radio.
We are experiencing a global reset, and much of the world is living in fear. But I see Taya practitioners thriving in this new reality.
I see Taya overflowing in every aspect of my life. It's just truly magnificent. There were times that I was not self-assured and didn't have the self-confidence, but now I'm fearless. I really love myself, and I know how to live in joy and let go of all these things that held me back from living this beautiful life I've always dreamed of. And it's amazing how rapidly those things start showing up once you practice Taya.
It changes everything about you, and it will affect all other aspects of your life, your health, your career, your money, your relationships. And I think that certainly has helped with my anxiety, with my mental health. I'm realizing that, wait a second, I deserve the best in life.
Visit thestreamofdavid.com/TYA to learn more about the Taya Mindset Practice and Taya Bootcamp.
A social distancing tip.
Putting distance between yourself and others is critical to slowing the spread of coronavirus. So here are ways to stay in contact without the physical contact part. Call, send a text, set up a video conference, post on social media, dedicate a song on the radio. If you have symptoms of fever, dry cough, and shortness of breath, call your healthcare provider before going to their office. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part, because we're all #alone together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
And we are back. My timing is just off of everything today. Stacie and I just get so deep into a discussion that we almost forget that we're on the radio and there's a commercial that we've got to go to. But that's okay. It's a good topic that we're covering here. And I kind of want to roll into something different. And before I do that, I want to invite everybody that's listening to join our Facebook group. If you want to come have fun with us, come back to Facebook if you're off of Facebook. And if you're on Facebook, join this group. It's called Taya Global Awakening, TYA. Taya stands for Trust Your Abundance. And you can join the group for free. It's called Taya Global Awakening. And let me know where you heard this message, so I know where you're coming from as far as where you're finding out about Taya in the stream. And just dive in and join into the group, because we teach the Taya practice in there all the time. We talk about Taya Bootcamp, but the first step really is to get into that group and learn more about the practice and interact with people that have graduated from the boot camp, see how it's changing their lives. There's lots and lots of testimonials in there, a lot of group interaction, and it's just a fun way to get in and start learning this practice and prepare yourself if you're going to get into the boot camp scenario to take Taya Bootcamp, because it will change your life.
Definitely
right, Stacie?
will. Absolutely does.
Yeah, well, Stacie, your story is fantastic because you've already outed yourself as being north of a certain age, and you just got reunited after boot camp and engaged, and now you're married.
Yep, I'm married.
You sound like such a newlywed. Yeah, I'm married,
Yep, I'm married. I
you
still
two are great
don't believe
together.
it. Thank you. I think we are great together. We're a matching pair with our white hair.
Well, and you go on these insane camping trips and long distance hikes together, and life is good. It sounds like you're really, really happy.
We are really happy. He's a great guy. He just built me a workout pavilion in the backyard. Mosquitoes love me. So we have quite a few in the neighborhood. There's a little bit of standing water down the street in the culvert. So he bought me a nice Easy Up with netting along the sides. I put all my workout gear in there so I can go out and have a workout or sit out in the yard and not get eaten by mosquitoes. Very thoughtful and kind, so I can, keep my my physique in the way I'm most happy with it. But
That's
he's
really
great
nice.
at facilitating things. It's really nice. He's wonderful that way.
Yeah.
Always think of the little things that'll please me.
Yeah, I see the Facebook posts and stuff, and it just looks like your camping trips and everything. You're always on the go, and you're always doing stuff, so that's fantastic. And you're not letting lockdown. Actually, lockdown probably hasn't impacted you a whole lot, has it?
Mostly on the work end. I mean, we still get a chance to go out and do some of the hikes that we want to, but we're real conscious about making sure that we're self-contained. We don't go out and then stop at some small town and try to resupply, which is what they're really discouraging people from doing, but having enough supplies on our own so that we can go out into nature pretty much solo, see very few people while we're out there, and be self-sustainable, come back out, come right home. We don't dilly-dally or try to get other people in other communities to accept us or have us come in. And not that we're a threat. We're both healthy as horses. But again, I want to respect everybody who's at risk or has great awareness around the possibility that they could or not catch COVID. So I try to keep that in mind and be conscious that everybody else has their own bubble of life to live in, even though mine's high floating and free flying.
Free flying for sure. And the mastery group is going strong. We are really tackling some interesting high vibrational stuff in there, and really understanding the collective power that we have as a group with this practice. And we just keep setting the intention higher and higher and higher, and we start collectively seeing the results of this higher and higher and higher intention. And it's just it feels like magic in there, doesn't it?
It does. I think the most incredible example of what we're doing as a little small group of collective consciousness is, like we were describing in our last meeting, how a little bit of a DTS stream kind of went through and hit everybody on slightly different levels. But all of us experienced it within about a week of each other, week or two. And it was really remarkable to see how we all used our tools to get back up, and the stories that we shared. And then to watch everybody go, oh my God, I was there too. Oh my God. So it really showed us.
And of course we all utilize that DTS to create something bigger and better and bounce higher, right? Which is what this practice is all about. Well, and I joke that we're all kind of synced up on our vibrational cycles these days.
Yes,
It doesn't seem like that.
Yes,
totally. I mean, we all have a flow of vibration, and if you follow astrology, astrology is all about vibration and polarity, certainly, and predicting, really identifying common characteristics among the different signs and then sort of predicting that vibrational flow. That's exactly what astrology is.
Yep.
Is understanding that there is a universal force out there that's absolutely keeping the planets in alignment and doing what they're supposed to be doing, but it's doing the same thing for us.
Yeah, gravitational pull and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, and that polarity is what is creating our reality, because we all have this vibrational spiral, and we're all up and down our spiral. And when I dove into learning from other teachers about law of attraction and learning about high vibration and low vibration, we hear about that all the time in spiritual teachings. Mm-hmm. And I realized early on that a lot of what they were saying was absolutely making sense. And usually it's 100% true what I'm hearing. It's a little pie in the sky sometimes, as far as you're going to manifest every single thing that you want instantaneously and never have a problem again. I have yet to meet the person that is true for. And I realized that that's a very positive message that resonates with people on the surface, but then they dive into the teachings and they get really frustrated when every single thing they want isn't coming with great ease, or when they do go down in lower vibration and they start beating themselves up for being down there. And I understood from my stream connection early on, and I couldn't really put it into words until I started learning from others, though, that we're not here to live lives of perfection and manifest every single thing that we want. We are here to have this mix of wanted and unwanted things, and that at our best, the unwanted things are rolling in to show us, first of all, reflect where we are vibrationally, and secondly, allowing us to create some solutions to these perceived problems and create new things and expand in the process of the creation of overcoming the problems. And then suddenly you realize problems aren't problems at all. Problems are there to serve, if we allow them to be, the launch pad of our next creation.
Yep.
And it's a whole different way of looking at life than most people do. And you can kind of tell where people are on their spiritual journey by the way they react to that information.
Yes.
The whole, nothing's my fault. You're blaming the victims. You're terrible. You're awful. This is terrible information. Okay, you're not quite on the path yet to the frustration. But the frustration to me is the turning point. If you're getting into an awakening path, or you're just learning about spirituality or law of attraction, it's the same thing to me, really. And you're hitting the wall and you're getting frustrated. That's actually a good thing, as long as you don't let the frustration shut you down. That frustration is what inspired me to create the tools that are now the Taya practice.
And that frustration for me is how I found you. That's how I found the Stream of David. I was at that point of learning. I've had 20 years of meditation and lots of law of attraction workshops, and read The Secret, and followed other trans channels, and dove into a bunch of different, Hindu and Buddhism, and tried to explore those religions and organizations, and realized that none of them actually had the key. Like, what are the keys for me to move up my spiral? I didn't even know those words before I met you. So, but I knew that I wasn't getting where I wanted to be. I wasn't meeting all my obstacles in joy. I was meeting them in a place of, it's victimhood. And that perpetuated itself over and over. And I got so frustrated watching it happen over and over again. I was like, how do you break the cycle? And you've unraveled that, nasty little human construct of the cycle of down the spiral and constantly being in that vibration. You've figured out a way. The stream has channeled a way for us to use specific tools to detune the transgressors, and that's awesome.
Yeah, the detuning is very counter to what humanity teaches us to feel. Humanity tells us that we're victims and that the transgressor is this awful monster that should just be loathed. And, it's not our fault, and nothing's ever our fault, and everybody gets a trophy, and everybody wins, and everything just needs to be equal. But the universe does not operate like that. So therefore, our world doesn't operate like that. And you're kidding yourself if you think that you can stay in that space and not attract more of what you're focusing on. Mm-hmm. And I see evidence of that all around me. People get what they focus on, and we all know it. And it's easier to see sometimes in other people than it is in ourselves. But stopping and accepting that complete responsibility, even if you don't understand, again, I understand that there are things that happen in our childhood, especially early childhood, that we can't begin to comprehend on the surface how we attract things like that. But attraction is not about deserving or wanting or ordering up. It's about our dominant thoughts. And if we're absorbing fearful dominant thoughts and combining that with some past life energy and with some, what's going on in our environment, you can whip up a vibration that will absolutely attract some unwanted things very early on in life. There's nothing that you're doing wrong. You're just responding to your environment. And the thing that the stream teaches that now that I've really come to comprehend it, I love so much, but somebody that's a novice at this doesn't want to hear it. But we came here for the mix. We came to this life to live the positive and the negative, and to allow the negative to, at our best, serve our expansion. But our negative can be our undoing as physical beings as well, obviously.
You just make a choice. There's always that choice, and that's what we have as humans, is that power to make that choice. Whether we go up the spiral, we choose negative or positive. Whether we choose a path of victimhood or one of courage, to step into our responsibility for what we have created, what our soul chose before we even came in. Most of my transgressors were pre-verbal. So that was interesting. How do I deal with that? Why did I choose that? Well, you got to kind of put that up to the higher power or the higher self and go, okay, you picked a really cool path for me, but I don't really know how to unravel that. So the stream was instrumental for that.
and do this stuff, then you look back and realize, wow, if I hadn't had that experience and
Yes.
gone off into this, we talk about roots and branches, the pre-verbal was a root for you, certainly. And then what you
Definitely.
manifested from there, from that experience, was a branch. And then these branches just keep growing out into all the way through our lives if we allow them to. And, everything happens in divine timing. So there's no wrong way. There are people that are over 70 that get into Tai Boot Camp and start having all this enlightenment around their entire lifetime and change that energy at that point. So it's amazing. So before I forget about the commercial break, why don't we go to our next commercial break, and then we will unpack the rest of this when we get back. We'll circle back to nutrition. Good. We'll talk about high vibration. We'll talk about Tai Mastery when we return with Stacie Naglestad. We'll be right back.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio. OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Consistently attract soulmate clients, begin showing up on brand, monetizing on your calling. Welcome all spiritual coaches, leaders, healers, light workers, and practitioners to a show that turns you on in your business and amplifies your magnetism. I'm host, catalyst, and spiritual business coach Rosalind Fung, and I'm here to journey with you into the juicy and help you discover where the real gaps are. Ignite your mindset and soul with strategies and systems as each episode takes you to the sweet spot that activates your soulgasmic business by tuning in on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain. Join me for your light language activation, and let's magnetize and monetize.
I'm David Strickel, channel, author, and creator of the Taya Mindset Practice. Taya is a set of mindset tools that I co-created with the eternal wisdom of the stream. Join us in the Taya community, where we learn to release fear and truly trust the universe to deliver everything that we want and need.
This work is profound. If you do the Tai Boot Camp and maintain a daily practice, you will fundamentally change your life. I've maintained my practice pretty regularly since graduating. I meditate every day, I trust the universe to deliver what I want, I set intentions for my day, and I monitor my vibe up and down my virtual spiral. Doing these things consistently and regularly has made me a better father to my kids, a better lover to my partner, and a better boss to my team. This work is transformational, and it will completely change your life. I can't recommend it enough.
Learn the mindset practice that is changing lives all over the world.
Visit thestreamofdavid.com/TYA to learn more and book your free discovery meeting today.
Opiates has taken everything and everyone I've ever loved away from me. Everything.
I blew my ankle out and I got prescribed pain pills by my doctor.
If making my detox public is going to help somebody, I'm all for it. I just wish I would have had a warning.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth. A message from Truth, the Ad Council, and ONDCP.
And we're back with Stacie Naglestad. It goes so fast when you're on.
It does, doesn't it?
So I definitely want to kind of roll back into nutrition just to kind of wrap up where we started. So it's funny because if you hear that the show's going to be about nutrition, you're probably thinking, okay, we're going to give you a specific diet to follow, or this is bad, or this is good. And I love that we kind of kept it at the high level of, go up your spiral and then. Go up your spiral in high vibration, love yourself, love your body as the vessel that's carrying you through this lifetime, and then make your decisions from there, and don't beat yourself up about getting it wrong, quote unquote. But definitely, have the strength to release things that you feel bad after you eat. That's the big thing for me. It was, get rid of the things that I know aren't good for my body because my body tells me so after I partake in them. And it takes a little time and mindset work really to do that, to let go of certain things like sugar. But man, when I got off sugar, and I'm not off sugar right now, I'm back on sugar, but I'm not using it to soothe the disconnection. I'm using it for recreation, but I really wanted to get into that because there's probably a lot of people right now that are maybe using cooking and food for recreation more than they would have before because of lockdown. Yeah,
definitely.
So
I
for me, that's a habit that I've got to change.
Yeah, well, and right now it's a coping mechanism, and there are so many ways to utilize coping mechanisms, whether you choose to have a positive experience or a negative, whether it's an extreme coping mechanism or, like you're saying, one that's mutatable that you can shift when you decide to make that shift. And I think that's the important part is we need to make a clear decision. My top 3 for taking away is hydrate enough. Make sure you're hydrated. People don't drink enough water, winter, fall, summer, or spring. They just don't. So make sure you're well hydrated. That is the key to a well-functioning digestive system, to a good-functioning cardiovascular system, and it will actually help you sleep better. People always think
the thing that I learned when I started really consuming water and paying attention is my rule is I drink water until my urine is clear. So it's a good indicator though, right? I mean, how better to know because that way you have flushed everything out that you're supposed to flush out. That's what that whole system is about, right?
Yeah, it's all about elimination. You want to get whatever toxins, excess that you have in your system out. So yes, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. The other one is exercise. It doesn't matter if you take a walk around the block, if you ride your bike, if you jump up and down for 3 minutes, 4 times a day, do something. We are not built physically to sit in a chair all day long. That's just not how our human bodies
as the stream says, our bodies have not caught up to our reality yet. And we're really, our physiology is in caveman mode, right?
Yes.
We're still hunters and gatherers and climbers. And the more physical activity we do, the better we feel, the healthier we tend to be, and the better our bodies look. So, it's a win-win-win when you get into those habits of moving. And the hard thing is that if you have gone down the path of not doing that and not eating healthy and not moving, you've got to disrupt your mindset toward all of that stuff to shift the behavior. Yeah. And that takes time and discipline to do that. And not everybody has discipline. And, Taya is the thing that I created to bring discipline into my life because I can get excited about something as a type A personality and get very, for lack of a better term, OCD about it. Very, very, very focused on it and super focused on it. Really not OCD, but super, super focused on it. And while I'm doing that, I'm getting the benefit. But then when my vibration drops, what do? And that was a pattern for me in my life. Back when I weighed 300 pounds, that was a pattern I saw for myself over and over again because I've been on every diet there is. You name a diet, I tried it when I was overweight. And it wasn't until I shifted my mindset and learned these tools so that when my vibration dropped, I had somewhere to go other than back to the old bad habits. That's huge. Yeah, huge life changer in every way. Yes. That shifts your mindset towards your body, towards your general well-being and health, towards your relationships, towards your financial situation, toward how you live your life.
Yep.
The tools work for everything and just learning to work on raising your vibration. That's why everybody teaches meditation because it raises your vibration. And a lot of people that are doing meditation and teaching it, I think maybe aren't even exactly sure what it is. But I understand that it's your natural source connection that's already there, that you're quieting your mind so that it can be realized.
Indeed, definitely.
And
that's one of my
natural
favorite things to
connection,
do.
and that natural connection becomes very addictive.
It does. When you find that sweet, quiet spot where you can just be with you, and your creator, your source, God, whatever you want to call it, the universe, it's just, it's bliss. And I love that the Taya practice allows us to cultivate that more and more. I've meditated for years, but in being a graduate of the Taya program and using the tools, I've gotten my meditations to come into a deeper and deeper state. every single time I sit. Sometimes I don't have to sit for very long. It can be 5 minutes and I can, just get into these spots of bliss and connection that I worked years to get to by sitting for 30, 40, 50 minutes at a time. And I love that, because then there's that place that I can move from, that space where I'm well connected to myself. I'm well connected to my source, my higher self, and I can gently move into the day or an activity or cooking a meal, and it starts to permeate everything that's around me. The food tastes better. The activities that I do with my husband and our family are better. Just interacting with the dog sometimes is better. She likes it when I'm mellow.
Because you're in a high vibrational state. Yeah, everything is better. You're a different being up in that high vibrational connected state than you are when you're down. I recognize it in myself. And now I notice, when polarity takes me down a little bit, I realize that I'm a little DTS just due to polarity. And of course, we do the work in Taya to eliminate the lower vibrational transgressors, if you will, in our lives, so there aren't things down there waiting to connect to us when polarity drags our vibe down. And this may be getting a little too complex for just a surface conversation, but that's really game-changing in your life when you eliminate the things that trigger you down further when DTS rolls in. Because everybody goes down their spiral, but what do you do in that time is the difference.
I like thinking about it with the Taya practice. It's like detuning is divorcing yourself from that aspect of yourself that's, victim, that wants to blame everybody, that's negative, that's self-critical, that's self-judgmented, that lacks self-love. So if you can detune and detach, divorce that aspect of yourself and be free of that, there's a huge opening for more self-love and acceptance and being in the now of, sure, I have an extra 5 pounds to lose because COVID was damn good fun in cooking.
I love how you're putting that in past tense. Of course, was.
Yeah, that's okay. But that's what I used to cope. And now I'm like, let's choose a different coping mechanism. Now I'm back onto my exercise routine and making sure that I'm more conscious of what am I putting in my mouth and how do I feel right now before I put that in my mouth. Am I up my spiral? Am I stressed out? Am I feeling emotional? What else can I do to take care of myself? Do I need to take a walk? Do I need a hot bath? Do I need a nap? We think we're so complex as adults, but really we're just children. Yeah, all of the above. Need some loving.
Children get it right. It's like we are born and we roll into these situations where hopefully we're in a carefree state for a little while. And then we start learning, absorbing the thoughts around us, and suddenly we become these kind of controlled, fearful beings. Mm-hmm. And then we're placed into these, institutions that society creates, school, and workplaces, and things like that sort of keep us in this little lane of behavior.
Yes.
And we want out of that lane. We all do. I think we all want out of that lane. We want freedom. We want joy. We want to travel. We want to do fun things. We want to not stress and not worry and not be in a situation where we're stuck in the past and we're thinking about how horrible things have been before or what a bad situation we're in now. And one of the, a lot of people absorb these teachings in my social media, and one of the most common questions is, well, how do I do that when I'm surrounded by toxic people?
Bring your vibe up and they will disappear.
Yeah, the answer to that is you've got to, you manifested your way into being surrounded by toxic people somehow, either by A, being a toxic person, you don't know that, or B, more likely than
judgment.
Not, really, but that's just a truth that you surround yourself very often with people who are a reflection of you, or they're a reflection of what you don't want, but you're focusing on too much. So if you're focusing on the quote-unquote toxic people and how toxic they are, you're just going to keep getting more of that. Whereas when you find things to appreciate about the quote-unquote toxic people, then suddenly their behavior towards you changes.
I just love how that melts people. You don't even have to say it to them.
You have so much power. Yeah.
You don't have to even say it to them. You just have to have that in your heart, that in your mindset, that in your thinking when you're interacting with somebody, even when you're not interacting with them. You can just send them those waves, and it's amazing to watch people just get disarmed instantly. and then they look bewildered. And I find that absolutely it tickles the hell out of me.
Well, it makes you feel like you have a lot more power in your life. It makes you realize you have a lot more power in your life than you ever perhaps thought. When you learn to find appreciation for someone that the world tells you you're supposed to not appreciate, and then suddenly their behavior towards you improves, and when you start loving yourself more, and then the landscape of people around you shifts, because the people that don't hold that regard of you are going to fade away. They're going to be disarmed, and ultimately they're going to fade away. And then the people that do love you and feel a high vibrational feeling towards you are going to kind of step forward.
Yep.
And it's a magical thing that can happen at any point in your life. Yep. So if you're surrounded by people that drag you down and they're all negative, or they're toxic, that's the clearest way to move through that, is to find appreciation for them. And then while you're doing that, also find appreciation for you, and you will no longer be a vibrational match to that. And all of those things will change. And there are things that we, especially when we're DTS, believe that, well, gosh, that'll never change. It's always going to be this way. I have to tell you, I've thought that way before in my life, and I proved that wrong in almost in every area of my life. Really, I changed every single unwanted thing there was with this practice. I got healthier. I lost weight. I got out of a bad relationship. I got out of a job I didn't like. I got off of painkillers. I was on opiates for over a year, and I was definitely dependent upon them. I wasn't abusing them, but I was dependent. I couldn't just quit, and I had to wean myself off of it because I was too cheap to go to rehab. And luckily I didn't, because I actually created a tool for myself that works. I've never had an issue with it again.
Moved to a great new town.
Yeah. Well, life is never perfect. I'm not looking for perfection, but it's pretty damn close. I live in a great situation with somebody that I really love, and I live exactly where I want to live and do what I want to do. And I'm surrounded by fantastic people, and, I love my mastery people. And I have some friends here in Palm Springs that I really love. And the only thing that's missing right now is travel and doing the workshops with the stream that I want to do. I can't wait to get back to a scenario where we can get out there and do live workshops, and I can channel the stream with a live audience in the room, because we know what it feels like to be in that Zoom meeting in mastery, interacting that way. Just imagine getting that into an in-person retreat and doing some in-person workshops around the world. That's just, I can't wait for that. I've done that before. We've done a few live workshops, not really workshops. It was more of an appearance that I did where I channeled. Yes. And the vibe is just amazing. The feeling is just amazing to do that in person for everyone that's involved. So I can't wait till we can do that
after
again.
our mastery meetings, I let that high for us last 2-3 days. Sometimes, you don't sleep. One of our masters was just saying that she didn't sleep for 2 days after our session. That was awesome. And you feel so connected.
Not in a bad way. She said she didn't sleep, and she went into hyper creative mode and was just like super high vibration, for 2 solid days, where she just was, and she was super creative in the meantime. So in the process as well. So it's when you get your vibe that high, life really changes, and everything that's going on in the world really kind of comes into focus and makes sense. And you can actually find appreciation for things that when you're not in such high vibration, you come to find appreciation for. You can't appreciate it when your vibe is lower and you're, glued to the news, and you've got, fear triggers all over the place. And every time you're opening up Facebook or, seeing an argument between people about politics, that drags your vibration down. That stuff's all around us. And you can't just go bury your head in the sand and avoid it all the time. You want to get out and live life. And the good stuff is very often sort of surrounded with that stuff. And when you get your vibe super high, you're not even really aware of it. And when you do see it, it kind of just flows right through you. And you have this connection where you really understand everything that's happening in the world. And it makes perfect sense, and nothing seems wrong.
No, it doesn't. I love still the analogy that we've really seemed to use a lot in the mastery group is having your own bubble of reality and living so blissfully and enjoying floating through all the negativity and the arguments and the COVID and just all the stuff that's making people nutso right now, with rose-colored glasses on, just kind of viewing it in a place of going, yep, I see why there's this happening right now, and I see the purpose for it, and I can appreciate this is not only going to help me evolve, but it's going to help the entire nation, planet, species evolved.
Yeah, that's the very best we have to offer. Like the stream says, the very best we have to offer is the high vibrational version of us.
Yep.
And it's not just about ignoring everything and bypassing at this level either. I mean, you really can absorb. I can have a political discussion. I find it interesting.
Yeah, I do too.
We have an election coming up in the United States. I can talk politics with anybody, not terribly in depth because I'm not glued to it like a lot of people are, but I do find it interesting. None of it scares me. And I can appreciate anyone's position because, I know people that support both sides.
Yep.
With that, our hour is up. It just flew by. You're always so much fun to have on, Stacie. I absolutely appreciate you so much and having you on to share your information about nutrition and Tai Mastery. If you'd like to learn more about the Tai practice, you can email me at david@thestreamofdavid.com. We can set up a discovery session with you, and you can learn about Tai Bootcamp and the Tai practice. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you all for listening. Namaste.
Have a great day.